Hey, what's up everybody? This is HD and I'm back for another HD broadcast. This is going to be a special game specifically from the GameCom Plantronics tournament that I kind of advertised for a couple of weeks ago, and I know a lot of you guys out there were able to fill up for the registration, which I believe had 400 slots left. So yeah, thanks for signing up for that tournament and competing. I wish you guys the best of luck, and as I said in that announcement video, I'll be doing a game once a week that is the featured game of that week, and it is I think it's like a 4-week long tournament. I'll also be casting the grand finals as well. So this is week 1's highlighted replay, and this is a game between Complexity RSVP. I'm sure most of you guys know who this guy is. He is one of the better Protoss players in the world, I would say. And Complexity obviously has a great number of players on there. I know that they recently acquired Root Gaming, so they've got Drewby, they've got Cats, they've got all those good players. They had Destiny for like 5 days as well, but I think there was a little bit of a falling out with that situation, so I'll speak no more about that. His opponent, though, is going to be Rhymenoceros. I think I'm just gonna call this guy Rhino because that's a really hard name to pronounce, especially when the game gets really underway and I'm gonna get tongue-tied. I already can see it happening. So it is gonna be Rhino versus RSVP, and it is gonna be on the good old map, Xel'Naga Caverns, classic map, still in the ladder pool for Season 3, I believe. And that's another big announcement as well. As most of you guys probably know, Season 3 is now out for StarCraft 2. Big news because everybody now is going to be able to start on a fresh, clean slate. And as for myself, I'll finally be able to get promoted into Masters, or I may just be stuck in Diamond forever. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah, so this is going to be RSVP here, running into Rhino's base. Rhino's just getting an extractor and a pull down right now, and it is going up before the hatchery. Pretty standard because Zerg players nowadays can't really afford to go for that hatchery first, because when they do, they're usually staring down the barrel of a suicide cannon. And when I say that, I mean that, you know, most Protoss players will just throw up a forge as soon as they see the hatch first, and then they'll just cannon block that forge. And it's a pretty nasty situation to deal with. So most Zergs now are opening up with gas and pool first, and we can see Rhino is doing just that. He may end up getting speed with his first 100 gas. I can't imagine what else he's going to use that first gas for, unless he wants to go for a Roach Warren. And he is making 4 lings right now. RSVP is just being quite the annoying with this probe. And this is something that Huck likes to do a lot as well, and in general, most good Protoss players will use that scouting probe to be as annoying as possible. I think there was this little discussion, what's the most annoying of all the 3 workers, and unanimously voted was the probe. And the reason for that is because it has shields. It can regenerate much faster than a drone, and obviously an SCV has no regenerative capabilities whatsoever, unless it brings along like a butt buddy or something, and you know, they're singing in the rear, get in the rear with the gear song. But yeah, the probe is pretty much the most annoying scouting worker of all because it can harass the drone line, harass SCVs, and it can pull away to prevent any permanent damage from going down. But the probe has now joined back at the natural. RSVP opened up with what seemed to be Nexus first into a forge, and now he has the cannons up. This is a really bold expansion. Typically, Protoss players will go, you know, they'll go gateway into Nexus, and I know a lot of players have been using the 3-gate expand quite rapidly, but the problem with the 3-gate expand is on a map like Scrap Station, on a map like Metalopolis, where you've got a wide area to defend against, the Roachling all-in almost guarantees a victory for the Zerg. So what Protoss players have been doing to counteract that is opening up with either Stargates, or if they want to go for that quick expo, they go Nexus first or Gateway first. Obviously Nexus first is a little bit more risky, especially if your Zerg opponent is going for a Roachling all-in here, and it seems like we may have a Roachling all-in coming from Rhino. His speed is now just finished, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 roaches on the way. Ooh, that's a lot of roaches coming out to bang down this front door. And does RSVP have enough cannons here? He's only got 3, and I'm really more worried about the western edge of the expansion because it seems like the lings could just run around. The roaches could puncture a hole through these through that single cannon really easily. And here comes Rhino. And is RSVP prepared for the Roachling all in? The cannon is getting worked down first. Rhino's gonna micro that roach out of the way. Good micro on his part. Saves the last or one of the roaches and forces a cancel on the pylon as well. And RSVP has to retreat. All probes are now sent back to the main, and a horrible situation for RSVP. Now remember guys, he's only got 1 gateway, And he is trying to warp in a second one right now, but he has no warp gate, just a single gateway, and, you know, whatever cannons he's got to defend against these roaches. This is a sticky situation, and don't forget the lings that Rhino has just waiting in the back to wrap around any zealots or stalkers that may get a little bit too bold and boisterous. Uh-oh, the Nexus is starting to go down. It's in the orange. It's falling. One of the roaches falling as well. The second roach falling. A zealot goes down as well. And Rhino here on the verge of almost certain victory. I don't think I've ever seen a Protoss win after losing their Nexus. And the Nexus is at 50 health, 6 health, and it has gone down. RSVP's expansion has gone down. And that is a huge setback for the Protoss player. I mean, this is why I don't think 3-Gate Expo is safe on this map against Zerg. I definitely don't think one Nexus expansion before anything else is safe either. If you're gonna expand on this map, I would say, you know, either Forge first or a Gate first, and then you get your Nexus down. But this is just far too risky. You don't get enough gateways out to defend against a Roachling all-in, and on a map like this especially, there's just too many vulnerabilities that the Zerg can exploit. What with the terrain and how open the Nexus is, I mean, how are you going to Sim City this entire section off? So I don't know, maybe RSVP is underestimating his opponent a little bit here. Obviously RSVP is the favorite to win this game because, I mean, he's in complexity. I don't think anyone really knows who Rhymenoceros is. Almost sounds like a de-evolved like Velociraptor or something that just decided to become a rhino. Rhino, I'm just gonna call him Rhino. You know, you kind of underestimate a player who you've never seen before, and maybe RSVP was like, you know what? I can do a Nexus first against this guy, and I can still win. But Rhino was wise enough to realize, hey, if it's a Nexus first, I can just do a Roachling all-in, and I should be able to theoretically take out that Nexus without any issues whatsoever. So far I would say right now Rhino is definitely ahead. If we pull up that army tab though, he's only ahead by 7 supply, and his income, his dronage, really not that good. So I guess maybe the Roachling all-in, although he killed the Nexus, I guess he didn't do enough damage to really equalize things all that much. I mean, honestly, he didn't kill that many probes, and of course, for the Zerg, he has to cut that fast expand to get all those minerals necessary to do the Roachling all-in. So I feel like right now it's a pretty even game. And obviously, if Rhino had just let that Nexus go up, then he would have been way, way behind. So for now, I feel like it is a somewhat even game. There is an Overseer coming in here, good of the Zerg to always send these units in to scout. And this is one thing that players just don't do enough. Use your scouting units, find out exactly what's going on, and that Overseer saw all these warp gates all ready to go. And so in response, the Zerg player Rhino is now producing 6 roaches. So, and he's also got a Wayward Queen. All right, that sucks. Sometimes that just happens, guys, when you're playing and your queen decides to just go spaz out and go check out the Xel'Naga Watchtower. I have no idea why that happens. It does look like we're gonna have a pretty big engagement here. Rhino, finding a pretty good spot, has killed off several zealots and a stalker to avenge the death of that queen, and he's continuing to push forward here. He may end up getting a couple more zealot kills, and perhaps RSVP was the one who was being a little bit too bold in that push out. And it looks like, yeah, he is gonna have to fall back and just hold down the fort for now, because we have a second wave of roaches coming. In the background, the infestation pit is on the way, so Rhino is teching up to get some more higher technology units for the Zerg Swarm. But right now, if he can take out this cybernetics core and possibly even a couple of key buildings, he may have a pretty good shot of just taking the game outright right here. But the sentry's warping in, and RSVP are able to force field a lot of those roaches out of the way. And, you know, with those sentries coming out now, I think that's going to halt the roach rush. You know, they have speed, the roaches do, and they do have +1 weapons, but force fields can put a stop to roaches pretty quickly. You don't want to let half your roaches just get caught behind the force field and the other half in front, because that's pretty much the death sentence of about half your army. So wisely, Rhino decides to fall back and live to fight another day, and RSVP, on the other hand, going for a really fast third Nexus, obviously wants to take this game to the next level, and of course wisely investing some of those minerals for the future, and those cannons are going to prove to be very, very helpful. At any time as a Protoss player just gets cannons at a Nexus, it's one of the most aggravating things for any player really, a Zerg or a Terran, to deal with, because you want to harass the Protoss, but you've already got to deal with that warp-in mechanic, so that when you do drop off units, Protoss players typically warp stuff in, and then if there's cannons as well, it becomes even more difficult. Hold that thought though, Rhino is going to come in here with several roaches. He may be able to get in here before the cannons warp in, but with the reinforcements arriving, I think those cannons got up there just in the nick of time, and Rhino will have to fall back. But yeah, that's just a great example of why cannons are so good. They're about 150 minerals a piece. Yes, they cost a lot of money, but honestly, if you're a Protoss player, just do it. Just get cannons, get about 4 or 5, make it 6, get them all around your Nexus, and it really increases the survivability, the chance of your Nexus to survive from any kind of an attack or any kind of harass. So RSVP is playing this game very smartly, very intelligently. He doesn't want to, you know, fall to any kind of an early game attack or mid-game attack, so he's prepared in defenses. He's got a pretty decent SimCity going on as well. And Rhino here, what is he doing? Does he have Infestors out? Yes, he does. So he has 3 Infestors. Infestors, obviously, one of the core units now in Zerg versus Protoss. The fungal growth is going to be absolutely key. It looks like we do have some force fields blocking the roaches off, and Rhino in a pretty bad spot, but the Infestors coming in at the nick of time, getting a decent fungal growth off. Do they have enough energy for another fungal? Doesn't look like they're in range. A second fungal does go down, but those fungals really not doing that much damage. Remember, Protoss shields will regenerate out of battle at a very quick pace, and perhaps Rhino there didn't need to fungal growth. I would have liked to maybe see him save that energy for a later engagement, but despite that, he was able to get in there and save at least some of his roaches. And we are now in a 3-base versus 3-base situation. However, Rhino is quickly tacking up into Hive here. Hive is going to be up in just moments, and I gotta imagine we're gonna be seeing Ultras coming out here, because Rhino has gotten, well, maybe not. Rhino's been getting missile weapons this entire game, not melee, it seems like. Does he have melee? No, he doesn't. And no Carapace, so perhaps he's gonna go for Broodlords. He may go for Ultras. I'm not entirely sure yet. Typically, when you have an army of a lot of roaches, it doesn't really make sense to get Ultras, because roaches and Ultras somewhat share a similar purpose. And, you know, Roach Broodlord is a much more powerful composition than Roach Ultra. And we'll see. That Hive is about to come up. RSVP does have a couple of observers here providing crucial scouting information for the Protoss player. Let's check over to RSVP's first-person view here. He is at 106 APM. Relatively low APM there, but he is a Protoss player. So typically, and when I say that, it's because typically most Protosses do have somewhat low APM. Much more of a thinking race where you strategically play out your game rather than just spamming all around the map. And also note there, look at that grid of cannons at the gold. We're just going to switch off his camera view for a second. Look at that! 10 cannons going up for RSVP, and that is just, we're almost seeing a photon cannon defense game right here. I don't see any way how the Zerg can bust through this unless he's going for Broodlords right now, and perhaps Rhino is gunning for that. Yeah, he's got Spire on the way, so good for him. He is going to go for the Broodlords. Let's switch over to Rhino's first-person point of view as we see an Infestor drop here going on. Not quite a drop, but an Infestor kind of ambush, so to say, and all these infested Terrans popping out here. The Terrans have arrived. The Terrans have arrived, and they're going to be able to pop this Nexus, I would imagine, before the Protoss reinforcements can arrive, and the Nexus is quickly falling down. RSVP, though, more concerned about taking out the Infestors, so he is going to be able to pop them off. Pretty good play, but was it a trap? The roaches are near here. The Nexus has fallen. The infested Terrans are continuing to fire out, and Rhino has come in with a lot of roaches. They are burrowing underneath the force fields, and oh my god, Storm catching a lot of those roaches while they were burrowed. High Templars casting feedback, and Infestors casting fungal growth, and we have a massive battle of epic proportions here, but those 2 Immortals in the background are going to be able to do so much damage. I would imagine the Immortals will be able to slay the rest of these roaches, no problem. And Rhino has to fall back, but both players trading quite a bit there. Yeah, I think the entire Zerg army just went down, as did the entire Protoss army, except for a couple Immortals and a recycled 2 Templar. But what a battle that was. However, I feel like Rhino may have come out ahead of RSVP. Remember, guys, he killed off the Nexus at the 3rd. He traded armies with the Protoss, so essentially he traded with the Protoss, but he also got the added bonus of, you know, killing off a Nexus. and whatever probes he was able to kill as well. In fact, let's look at the workers kill tab. 7 workers killed, so not bad at all. He is going to try to engage into these cannons though, which I feel is a big mistake. That is so many cannons, and no, Rhino, what are you doing? Your infestors are not rhinoceroses. They can't just run in there headlong like that. You got to keep them safe, man. He just lost like 3 of his infestors there, and that is brutal. Those infestors are probably the highest, most expensive tier units that Rhino has out right now, and every one counts. He's going to need them for the next big battle. Once again, RSVP showing the power of the photon cannon grid, just warping in layer after layer of cannons. Doesn't want to deal with any infested Terrans, any roaches, any kind of attack whatsoever. And a super strong grid here. I swear you could defend America's borders with this grid of cannons. That is how strong RSVP's cannons really are, and looks like Rhino here may think about attacking into that borderline. I don't know about that though. That's both of these grids are almost impenetrable, even by the number of roaches Rhino's got. He's gotta wait for Broodlords to come out and fly over the border patrol, because this is just not gonna happen. Definitely not. So Rhino does fall back and decides to wait for the Broodlords to come out. He does have 4 Corruptors, and oh, look at that, saving 8 supply, so he will have just enough to make whatever Broodlords he can, and he's making 2 more Corruptors as well. I think that's gonna equal 6 total Broodlords when he gets them out, but RSVP is pushing out here, and oh, Rhino's trying to catch the units in transition. He catches 4 of the Templar. Another fungal growth could kill the rest of these Templar off, and the Templar are gonna go down. 4 of the Templar going down, and the Rhino doesn't need to engage anymore. That's a wall of Immortals there. 5 Immortals, 2 Archons. He does not need to engage there. Just killing off those Templar was good enough. Wait for another day and wait for your Broodlords to come. And that's exactly what he's going to do. Now, for RSVP, what is he building? Oh my goodness. Oh my god, we're just going to see a mothership. Wow, we're going to see a mothership, ladies and gentlemen, and I mean, I don't know. I've seen motherships, and I mean, I've seen my fair share of them, but every time I see them, they're either a make or break unit. Either they do something really cool and awesome, or they just fall flat on their face. It's kind of like the nuclear missile. You either, In Control said it best, you either see a nuke killing off an extractor, or you see a nuke just ending the game, and that's it. There's no in-between. There's never an in-between for nukes. So, kind of the same deal for the mothership here. Looks like a couple Broodlords here. Really good spot, by the way, for Broodlords over this little gaping chasm. They'll be able to shell a couple of these cannons, and they can fall back if the Stalkers get too close. Although, it looks like RSVP may be moving over to the right side of the map here. He does have a pylon over there, so he knows about that expansion. And we have a huge engagement. Once again, the Templar did not cast any spells yet. There's a storm! Massive storm, the perfect storm over those roaches, and they are just getting evaporated. However, Rhino may have had more than enough roaches to weather the storm there, and he may have enough. And meanwhile, the Broodlords are continuing to pound away at the cannon line. The hatchery here was canceled. RSVP, though, will not be able to run back to save the cannons and the Nexus, because he still has to deal with these roaches. However, they are very weak, and the roaches end up burrowing to mitigate that weakness, so they'll be able to regenerate over time. RSVP needs to bring the Observer in to scout the roaches, and what are the Broodlords doing? They're continuing to wreak havoc across the Nexus. It looks like the roaches are continuing to use that burrow to evade the Stalkers, but RSVP is here, and he will be able to pop the rest of these roaches off. However, he is going to lose his Nexus, and what a game we have here. 6 Broodlords going completely unstopped, and what RSVP needs to do now is go into Stargate tech. He needs the late game Void Rays to deal with Broodlords. However, I don't know if he's got enough macro or APM to deal with that right now, because he's got to deal with the roaches in the middle of the map, and the mothership has arrived! The mothership has arrived! It has cloaked the Stalkers, and the Stalkers are now invisible. Rhino cannot see the Stalkers underneath the field of the mothership, where the mothership provides that protected cloaking magical cloak, whatever you want to call it, Harry Potter's magical cloak. And RSVP here getting the last minute unit to come out and I guess save his butt. I still don't know if the mothership is gonna be enough to win the game for him though, because we can see that Rhino is investing into a lot of Corruptors and now getting Neural Parasite as well, and I can guarantee you that Neural Parasite is for 1 unit and 1 unit only. Dun 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 dun. Oh man, a Neural Parasite over this heavy and expensive piece of machinery. Actually, I don't know if they're heavy. They seem pretty light because they can float, but nonetheless, they are very expensive pieces of equipment for the Protoss. One Neuroparasite can really wreck RSVP's day. And speaking of wrecking his day, we do have some Broodlords coming in here. Coming into the bottom side of RSVP's 9 o'clock expansion. Not a good way to wake up to having some Broodlings in your cup. And they are doing some pretty good damage here. They're going to be able to wreck the assimilators. The cannons, though, are holding off for a while at the least. But eventually the Broodlings will prove to be too much and the cannons will fall. And Rhino is continuing to push in. However, he's also attacking right into the gold with a large army. Here comes a mothership, though. The mothership, no doubt, going to cast a spell. Neuroparasite still 10 seconds away from finishing, and there goes a vortex, completely collapsing a bunch of roaches into a never-ending black hole, and RSVP's even sending his Archons in, so right as soon as the units come out, that AoE damage is going to obliterate all those roaches, and here we are! Those roaches are done for! The Archons are going to demolish the roaches in a storm for good measure as well. Oh my god, but there's the Neuroparasite, but a little bit too late. What hope can a Neuroparasite do when the mothership doesn't have any energy and all the infestors popping? And RSVP takes a win. Or, I guess not quite a win yet, but he takes a victory, a small battle, leading up to a possible victory in this game. In terms of this war effort between RSVP and the Zerg player, he's also lost one of his mining expansions. So if we check that income tab, let's see, he's at 65 workers. His income is, in terms of minerals, just a tad below the Zerg player, and the gas is just a tad below. And wow, I honestly don't know who's ahead right now. If anything, I would say both players are somewhat even. Because in terms of the late game, in terms of macro, I think the Zerg won because he sniped the Nexus, but in terms of battle, I feel like RSVP came out way ahead, although he is really starving for minerals and gas right now in that army tab, showing that he is down by a good, what, 30 supply? That's not good. We do have another big engagement though. Rhino trying to make yet another attack into this Nexus. He will be able to snipe it with combined roach fire. There are 3 roaches, ladies and gentlemen. They are so tough and powerful. Built roach tough. That should be a slogan for the roaches. Rhino here is going to engage. A pretty good engagement spot right here because the roaches have a good concave, but the storm gonna force the roaches to fall back. And what a chase. It's like Alien versus Predator here. RSVP's following the roaches, and Rhino decides to burrow, but I'm sure there's an observer around here. Oh no. Oh no. Dun-dun, dun-dun, there's no observer. Dun-dun-dun-dun, there's the observer, comes in, but the roaches pop out and they are going to be able to snipe a couple of forces, but the mothership now has arrived once again, and RSVP, I mean, battle after battle, it seems like RSVP is winning the fight, but if you look at that army supply tab at the top right hand corner, it's still 175 supply over 143, and Rhino still has almost 4,000 minerals saved up in the bank. I mean, he has enough to send these roaches to college. He's literally rich right now, and I'm not entirely sure why he's not maxed out. Could possibly be because he doesn't have enough larvae. And we have yet another engagement. Oh my god, Rhino has so many infestors on beautiful fungal going down. However, once these roaches fall, it's just going to be infestors versus this army, and Rhino will have to spawn some infested Terrans or possibly mind control the mothership. No! Oh god! Another black hole sucking the units into oblivion. We have another attack on the left side of the map. Rhino is bringing in the 3-3 roaches into the 2-3 stalkers. The vortex is about to end and the Archons are awaiting, but the infestors are here. They could launch a massive fungal growth. No, they don't do it, and another vortex goes down. This game is getting insane right now. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, it looks like the roaches, I don't know, that's really close, too hard to tell right now. Some infested Terrans coming out as well, a second vortex, and the mothership's just pounding with its laser rays all day long, and oh my god, an infestor meat fest right there. They all just went down. These Archons combined with that mothership vortex is literally imba, man. They do 34 damage. Actually, they do 47 to Zerg because they're biological, and they do AoE, so when all those units are clumped up, those Archons literally just rape face. They melt face every unit. And RSVP is gonna take a hatchery here. Unbelievable play by RSVP. The Broodlords are still here. I'm not even entirely sure. I guess Rhino just kind of forgot about those Broodlords. Man, they could have came in handy. But they are going to be able to shell away this Nexus for the second time today, and we have a war of attrition on our hands. The Zerg player has all but ran out of mineable resources on the map, except for perhaps this location, but he still has a lot of minerals banked up, so he could produce a large number of Zerglings if he were to do so. In terms of the Protoss player, RSVP has a safe and healthy mining expansion, and pretty much only one, because this one's about to run out, and this one is dead. So, I don't know which way this game is going to go now. It's still way too close to tell. RSVP still has that massive army of just Archons. It's not really massive even. This is kind of an ode, an example, of, so to say, of how Protoss play. You don't need a ton of units. You just need a little bit of units. And Protoss units are so much more powerful than Zerg units. I mean, one Archon, it is the equivalent of, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 roaches, man. Literally, it has 5 times the health. Maybe not 5 times the health, but it has a lot more damage in health. And so RSVP is kind of playing this small army versus the impending Zerg swarm, but he's actually surviving. He's actually doing a lot of damage, and this is such a good game to watch. And oh my god, a vortex sucking those broodlords down to the pit below hell. You guys just saw all of them just get whoop, sucked in, and oh my god, the Archons are gonna go in as well. And as soon as the broodlords come out, the Archons are just going to destroy those broodlords, and here they go. They're all stacked up and they're all gonna go down. Oh my god, what a huge hit for Rhino. Rhino just lost almost everything, and now he's got to engage against these Archons and Immortals, and a beautiful blink by RSVP, putting the Stalkers in the back where they're safe. A mind control over the mothership, but no energy to use a spell. And Rhino says, do you usually play like this? I would say, what, play like what? Play to win? Yeah, I always play to win, buddy. Wow, what a game. And I think our Rhino may have been mined out. The superior Protoss technology proves to be successful against Rhino, the de-evolutionary form of a dinosaur. Rhymenosaurus. Saris. So anyways, I think this is pretty much all but game, but before we see the end of it, the drones with pitchforks in hand, they're pissed. They've been mining all day. They thought they were going to be guaranteed a victory and they were going to get to go home to their wives and say what's up and, you know, sleep with them and everything. But no, now they're forced to battle and they're all going to go down. That's horrible. RSVP takes a win here. I can't see the Zerg winning at any point now. He's got 12 supply. What has he got? And that 12 supply is literally just 6 drones and 3 queens. So yep, that's gotta be game. Once again, those cannons and all those expansions, even their RSVP, basically telling us all in chat how he plays. It's all about the cannons, man. They're very cheap. Well, they're not that cheap, but they're pretty cheap in comparison to if you consider, hey, I might lose a Nexus, maybe I should invest 500 minerals now to make sure that Nexus doesn't go down. It's a very smart style of play, and it's a very wise way to think. So yeah, that's good game. Ryman says he's a big fan of complexity, and as am I. Good luck in the tournament, so very well mannered, and he has left the game. So what a game for the first week of the highlighted replay for the GameTron Plantronics tournament. We will have, I believe, 2 more highlighted replays, one next week and one the week after, and then it will be the semifinals and the grand finals. So I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. That was a truly epic Zerg versus Protoss, one of the best I've seen in a while. So I do want to thank you guys all for following my channel, subscribing, staying tuned, and following me on Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. I love you guys. So that's it for me, guys. HD signing out till next time.